Starfield on the GTX 1060 is going to be today's video, and we'll start it off at 1080p at the lowest settings, and finally I'll use a mod to hopefully increase the FPS a bit further than what we had before. Alright, these are the settings, and let's jump into it. Now I think for the 1060, I'm hoping for 30 FPS stable at all times, and maybe the medium settings I think will be a good preset. So far so good, sitting in the mid 30s. In the ship it fell into the low 20s I believe, or the mid 20s. So not good there, but just exploring the moon here. The game is doing just fine so far, and now we're finally falling into the high 20s. It's not too bad, to be honest. I'm kind of surprised. This card is such a great card still. It's very old at this point, but it's still keeping up. I believe with the 3050 we had 40 FPS here, so a bit lower, but not by much. And it's a much older card too, that's why it's more impressive. So yeah, on the moon we had an average FPS of 30. It's pretty decent, but it did fall into the high 20s occasionally. Alright, indoors, sitting in the 40s and 50s. Let's go downstairs and see what we can get here. This barrel right here is going to be the death of this card, and falling into the low 20s. Shooting makes it fall even lower to 18 FPS, and I'm dead. Very laggy there. Hopefully with FSR and the mod we can get 30 FPS stable there. Should be able to, but if not, it'll be very sad. And finally, New Atlantis. 21 to 25 FPS. It's pretty bad, but I mean, this area is so intensive, and so is every other hub in the game. Well, at least the ones that I've been to. So we pretty much need an extra 10 to 12 FPS to hold the stable 30, which could be doable, to be honest. I don't want to go too far down with FSR and make it look really crap, but if we have to, I mean, I'll do it. Alright, now same settings, but with FSR enabled at 50%. That's a massive improvement. 36 FPS. I think we had 20 FPS beforehand without FSR. The game won't look great, obviously. I've gone crazy with the FSR mode, just maxed it out pretty much. But still, let's keep going. Sitting in the 50s so far. Quite fantastic. And now falling into the low 40s. Yeah, the graphics here aren't great, to be honest. Very low quality. We'll see how we do with the mod, as well as a laid back FSR mode. That's not super aggressive. Now I think the most important part is the fire and New Atlantis. The FPS range is pretty much the same. I think we had 18 FPS up to 20 FPS with the fire, and around 20 FPS at New Atlantis. So it's very similar. So hopefully we can get 30 here. Here we go. Please, 30 FPS. There you go. We'll shoot this guy real quick. 31 FPS. Fantastic. So we can hold 30 FPS now, at least in this section. Now the main issue right now is the graphics. The game looks pretty ugly, so hopefully the mod can help us with that. New Atlantis. This looks awful. Wow, this looks trash. Oh my god, what is this? 31 FPS. Man, the FSR is going crazy right now. A lot of shimmering. Just the graphics in general aren't very sharp. Looks very soft. Everything's mushed in together. It looks very bad. So yeah, not too bad. Let's go and cut out now, enable the mod, and see what that can do for us. Alright, now with the performance mod, we are sitting in the mid 50s. Let's see if we fall into the low 40s though on the way down. Almost the 60s there. We were so close. So it's definitely helping a little bit. It's not a massive increase, but it's a slight jump. Alright, we're falling into the 40s, but it's the mid 40s instead of the low 40s. That is amazing. Alright, mid 40s here. So on the ship, our lowest was around 31. With the mod, hopefully we can maybe get 35, 38 if we're lucky. I don't know. Let's take a look here. 34 FPS. Wow. That is pretty good. We gained 3 FPS from that, I think. Alright, here we are at New Atlantis. Now sitting in the mid 30s. 37 FPS even. That's pretty good. That's giving us enough headroom to hopefully increase the FSR a little bit. Alright, now playing the game at 70% resolution scale, we are sitting at 30 FPS. That is fantastic. As you guys can see, the game looks much better, and it looks much sharper as well. It looks respectable, to be honest. It looks like a decent experience at this point. And we are able to hold 30 FPS in the Atlantis. Okay, let's go and push our luck a little bit and play the medium settings. I'm going to keep the FSR at 70% again, and I'll keep the mod enabled as well. 36 FPS. Not too bad, guys. Not too bad at all. This will for sure fall into the 20s in the Atlantis, unfortunately. But it just depends on how bad it is. If it's the mid-20s, then it's playable, I guess, with the controller. If it's the low 20s, then that is not playable at all. But regardless, the low settings is very much playable on this card. With the mod, as well as FSR, you can get 30 FPS at all times, which is fantastic. Now, if you've got a weaker CPU, obviously, this might fall below 30, so keep that in mind. But for my system, again, I can get 30 FPS just fine. So we get 30 FPS all around. We didn't fall below 30 in this section. Let's go indoors and see what we can do there. Alright, indoors we're sitting in the 60s and now down into the 40s. That's not a good sign. It's pretty inconsistent so far. 27. Not too bad, to be honest. Not too bad at all. The aiming kind of sucks, falling into the mid-20s. But other than that, decent. Alright, New Atlantis. 29 FPS, guys. So 30 FPS. Wow, wow, wow. Okay, there we go. 25 FPS, like before. Oh, there we go. Now falling into the low 20s even. Unfortunate. The medium settings by itself isn't very much playable. I guess you could lower FSR all the way down again. But at that point, the game looks so bad anyway that playing at the medium settings doesn't make much sense regardless. So there we have it. That's Starfield on the GTX 1060. Again, it's playable at the low settings with the mod enabled. Targeting 30 FPS there. You can get above it at times, but it won't be very stable. And playing at the medium settings, again, you can get above 30. But New Atlantis and if you see Fire, for example, you will fall down into the mid-20s. So yeah, that's really up to you. Which one you want to go with? And yeah, I think that's about it. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. And I'll catch you guys next time for the next video. See you guys there.